For all we know, they're just puffs of smoke since they go poof when they hit the ground.
I don't know. I kind of have this headcanon that they're sort of like a jellyfish material, right? Like you squish and it's squish, like a narwhal, or they're like a space. They're a squishy space fungus. Space fungus. Space fungus. Does that mean that people are?
The core of KSP and KSP2 is an astrophysics simulator and an orbit simulator. By adding the Kerbals, you bring to it the emotion that is well-deserved for such astronomical feats. Without them, you're not getting the in-game response of the awe-inspiring and explosively horrendous stuff you're doing within the game.
You only get anything good done if you try again and again and do it wrong a bunch of times. They embody that, right? All they do is the wrong thing all the time, and yet somehow they've stumbled into an interstellar civilization. It just kind of takes all that, great scientists of history luster off of the entire progression of a civilization, right? It's like, yes, there are some smart people here and there, but mostly it's just, we just keep trying until we figure out something that works. And this game distills that into kind of its essence.
Harvester, Kerbal Space Program creator, as a kid used to play with his brother with modified rockets. They used to strap a tinfoil man to the rockets and launch them. They used to call them Kerbals. Harvester created the first 3D model for a Kerbal, and it was then slightly modified by an artist. But pretty much since then, like 8 years ago, we've been using the same model.
I collaborate with Squad on the part animations. I want to understand what the initial purpose of them were. I want to make sure that any parts that are in the original and will be in KSP2 fit the same design, because we are remodeling and retexturing them and up-resing them in a lot of ways. And some of that involves new fiddly bits, wire shaking and different parts opening and closing. And I try to work with Squad when necessary to make sure that I'm faithful to the original design.
I think without Kerbals, it's a very dry game. Kerbals make you okay with failure.
There's a cartoonish exaggeration to all of their emotions, right? In particular, the panic. In KSP1, Kerbals would start looking very nervous when they were about to crash. Now they will be screaming and flailing. It's a really, really good effect.
I am emotionally tied to the Kerbals. So if I ever strand a Kerbal, I have to send a rescue mission. I have trouble going to sleep that night if there's not at least a ship on its way to go pick that Kerbal up. So yeah, I think that the advances that we're making in the Kerbals will provide a lot more emotional attachment to them, and I think that's a great thing.
Modern changes, I would call them evolution. The KSP2 team has a better technology. KSP1 is on its way to its 10-year anniversary, so technology has changed a lot.
The way that we approached the design for the Kerbals in KSP2, the evolution of the Kerbals, started with Nate Simpson and Tim Cox. They got together and they really wanted to determine what made them so appealing, what made them feel alive, and guide that in a direction that allowed the art to expand on how they looked, how they were structured, and to read better on camera and while you're playing with them, and to expand on the possibilities of adding more emotions to them, adding more features to them, adding more hairdos, adding more facial expressions, personalities. And so between those two, they did many iterations and eventually came to the Kerbals that you've seen now in the trailers and in the in-game mock-ups.
The look of this game was established in those early months of the project with Tim. Tim made the template parts. He made the template Kerbals. He's at the heart of the look of this game. Squad had a lot of input. There was a lot of back and forth about what these were really going to be looking like. We had to stay true to the spirit of the original game, but also give them a broader emotional range for the multiplayer component of the new game.
The Kerbals are getting a better rig, better animations. They have technology on its side, and models may have much more geometry. Now their gloves have fingers. Now they can type, they can drive better, they can scream even more than they used to scream in KSP1.
One of the interesting things about the transition from the KSP1 Kerbals to the look of the KSP2 Kerbals was a conversation about eye scale. The KSP2 Kerbals, currently, their eyes are the same size, but the original Kerbals, many of them, if not all of them, one eye is a little bigger than the other. So I created the option that we can have Kerbals have different size eyes relative to each other. We found that the symmetry made them read easier. It made them more personable. I like that some of them have symmetrical eyes and could arguably be considered more beautiful Kerbals, and some of them have asymmetrical eyes, and it makes them more intriguing. A key improvement to the Kerbals in KSP2 was providing response to the physical forces that they're going through while they're flying around space. That came about when we were really trying to determine what we could expand upon and improve upon in the IVA experience and the portrait view experience of the Kerbals. And on top of emotional range, we thought, wouldn't it make complete sense and be actually fun and meaningful to the player to see the Kerbals actually responding to the amount of G-forces that they're under while the player is flying around and hopefully not getting them to explode. Having them flop around with the physics is a meaningful tell to the player that lets you know just what they're going through.
They react to physical forces. And it's just another subtle and funny way of communicating to the player how violent the flight forces are that their crews are experiencing. Kerbals are not only being affected by these flight forces now in a dynamic way, they're also reacting to those flight forces in different ways, in ways that speak to their individual characters. So Jeb, as always, cool as ice. But some of the others not so cool. We have levels of panic now. You can see at some point they're just freaking out entirely.
There was actually a comment on one of our most recent videos from Scott Manley, who he commented on the G-Force work that I did, which was layered on top of the other animations, by the way. So I use an animation layering system that allows that to occur while they're having all their emotions and doing all their other animations as well, so it doesn't cut into that. But he was saying that professionals lean into the curve. They don't bend with the forces. And while he is, as usual, spot on, I would argue, and I think some of the fans did too, Kerbals aren't what you might call professionals. They are incredibly capable almost by accident. Their ingenuity and their bravery lead them forward and make them and help them do these crazy, astronomically amazing things.
Our Kerbals have the same goal, I think, between KSP1 and KSP2, but we want to bring more life to them. And so that's looking for more situations for them to respond to, and to also give the player more opportunity to interact as them.
Terror has always been a great thing that the Kerbals show. It's a representation of us, of, oh my gosh, this is not going the way I thought this was going to go. The great thing about Kerbals is that they experience terror and then they're immediately back to work. And then maybe the next moment when the terror is over might actually be immediately back to awe and wonder. So it's the levels of terror are great to see that kind of ratchet up, and instead of just being on or off, you can have that emotional journey alongside the Kerbals of going through, I'm not so sure about this. Oh, this is going bad. Oh, this is completely off the rails.
Do you mean like physically what they're made of, or what are Kerbals made out of? Regret? In my experience?
I subscribe to the belief that they're similar to Warhammer 40k orcs, so I think they're made out of, like, I think it's moss or mold, but it also explains why their technology works.
I think the Kerbals are made out of, feels like something plant-based.
I don't know what they're made of, but maybe they're made of snacks. I don't know.
It was either looking through Reddit or the forums. Someone asked essentially, what are they made out of? Someone said they were plants. And I totally agree. They're plants. It makes perfect sense that they're plants. And it definitely helps speak to their lack of fear when it comes to strapping themselves to crazy rockets that haven't really been tested out too well, and crashing without fear as well.
Well, they could be plants. They could be from some other part of the universe. They could have been spontaneously created. My personal is, Kerbals just are. They've always been. They always will be.
I've never enjoyed my work more than breathing life into the Kerbals. The one thing I really want everybody to understand about the Kerbals, and I think the original creators at Squad would agree with this, is the Kerbals embody the best aspects of humanity. Even their worst moments are still hopeful. In their deepest throes of fear, in their deepest motion sickness, they're still striving for things that make humans as great as we are. Our curiosity, our love for exploration, and our ingenuity and collaborative capacity to work together. Like, they embody that, and I want to make sure that they continue to embody that for as long as they live.